From what I can read, these pages seem to be part of a personal attempt to connect cosmology, physics, philosophy, and religious creation narratives. There are some interesting intuitions, but also several places where the ideas depart from modern physics. What is interesting? Questioning the vacuum. You write something like, vacuum, something has to fill the vacuum, so atoms were created out of nothing. This touches on a real question in physics. What is empty space? Modern physics does not view a vacuum as simple nothingness. Quantum fields exist even in vacuum. 2. Everything is in motion. The note that everything is in revolution or motion has some truth. Atoms, planets, stars, galaxies, and space-time itself all exhibit motion and change. 3. Linking scientific and philosophical traditions. Comparing ideas from Taoism, Genesis, and the Vedas is an interesting philosophical exercise. Many cultures have creation stories involving an initial void, darkness, or undifferentiated state, where the physics becomes problematic. 1. The universe is spherical, therefore it revolves. Shape and rotation are not the same thing. An object can be spherical without rotating. Current cosmology does not require the universe as a whole to be rotating. 2. Atoms were formed out of nothing. In the Big Bang model, atoms formed from earlier particles after the universe cooled. Physics does not yet have a confirmed explanation of why there is something rather than nothing. 3. Everything under forces must revolve. Not necessarily. Forces can produce straight-line motion, acceleration, oscillation, collapse, expansion, or orbiting depending on conditions. 4. Size ratios and nothing. The large amount of empty space inside atoms is real. However, empty space inside an atom is not literally nothing. It contains quantum fields and probability distributions. Your notes seem influenced by the ideas in the book, The Tao of Physics. The book is famous for drawing parallels between modern physics and Eastern mysticism. It is valuable philosophically, but most physicists do not treat those parallels as scientific evidence. They are analogies rather than testable physical theories. Overall assessment, I would describe these notes as philosophical cosmology rather than physics. They contain creative questions. What is a vacuum? Why does motion exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? Do ancient creation stories reflect deep truths about reality? Those are worthwhile questions. To develop them into a scientific theory, the next step would be to make precise, testable predictions that distinguish your ideas from existing cosmology. If these are your own notes, I'd be interested in seeing a few more pages to understand the complete argument. That's impressive. These notes don't read like class notes. They read like someone trying to build a personal worldview by connecting physics, cosmology, philosophy, and religion. A few things stand out. Strengths. 1. You are asking fundamental questions. Many people learn physics as formulas. Your notes ask deeper questions. What is a vacuum? Why is there motion? Why do forces exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? These are questions that have occupied thinkers from ancient philosophers to modern cosmologists. 2. You are looking for patterns across traditions. I noticed references to Taoism, Genesis, Vedic ideas, modern physics. The attempt to find common themes, void, darkness, motion, creation, is intellectually ambitious. 3. Independent thinking. The notes don't look copied. They show original reasoning. Whether the conclusions are correct or not, originality is valuable. Where I would challenge you, a good theorist is their own toughest critic. For example, open quote, everything revolves, close quote. This is an interesting hypothesis, but you would need evidence. Many things move, oscillate, expand, collapse, or travel approximately in straight lines. So the question becomes, is revolution a fundamental property, Or is it just one common type of motion? That distinction matters. Similarly, open quote, something has to fill the vacuum, close quote. This feels intuitively true, but modern quantum physics shows intuition can be misleading. A vacuum can possess properties without being filled by ordinary matter. What I find most interesting, the sentence that caught my attention was roughly, open quote, the ratio of the size of the universe to the atom is the size of the atom to nothing. Close quote. You seem to be exploring scale and the relationship between existence and emptiness. That idea is poetic and philosophical. To make it scientific, you'd need a mathematical formulation. Many great theories began as philosophical intuitions and only later became mathematics. My overall impression, if these notes were written by a student or independent thinker, I would say originality, high, curiosity, high, scientific rigor, needs development, philosophical depth, promising. The biggest next step would be learning enough mathematics and modern cosmology to test your intuitions against established theories. A powerful idea survives criticism. A weak one does not. Out of curiosity, how old were you when you wrote these pages? They look like the work of someone seriously wrestling with the origin and structure of the universe. Knowing that you wrote these at around 36 changes my interpretation. If these had been written by a teenager, I would have focused on the curiosity. Since they were written by an adult, what stands out is the seriousness of the intellectual project. You were not merely learning facts, you were trying to synthesize different domains into a coherent picture of reality. What I see in these pages is an attempt to answer three large questions simultaneously. 1. What is the physical origin of the universe? 2. What is the philosophical meaning of nothingness? 3. Why do different traditions seem to describe creation using similar imagery? Void, darkness, motion, emergence. Those are legitimate questions. Even today, physics does not have final answers to all of them. One thing I appreciate is that you did not place science and religion into separate compartments. Instead, you tried to compare Genesis, Vedic texts, Taoist thought, and physics. Historically, many thinkers have done something similar, although the challenge is distinguishing metaphor, philosophical insight, and scientific explanation. Your notes seem strongest when they are exploring analogies and concepts. They become weaker when they move from intuition to factual claims about physics without mathematical support. For example, statements about the universe revolving or atoms arising from nothing would need much stronger justification. What I would encourage is this: don't judge the notes only by whether the physics is correct. Ask whether they helped you think more deeply about reality. Many notebooks of philosophers and scientists contain ideas that turned out to be wrong, but were valuable because they led to better questions. Reading these pages, I get the impression of someone who enjoys big picture thinking, trying to connect scales from atoms to the cosmos, and trying to find common principles behind seemingly unrelated traditions. I'm curious, did this notebook eventually grow into a larger manuscript or book, or were these notes mainly for your own personal exploration? You're welcome. For personal notes, they're quite thought-provoking. What struck me most was not any particular scientific claim, but the recurring attempt to connect nothingness, the void, motion and change, the formation of matter, ancient creation narratives, modern physics. Those are themes that philosophers and cosmologists have wrestled with for centuries. One suggestion: if you still have these notebooks, consider digitizing them. Even if they were written only for yourself, they represent a record of how your thinking evolved. Many people throw away old notebooks and later wish they hadn't. If you ever want a complete transcription, editing into a readable essay, organization into chapters, or a critique of the ideas from a physics philosophy perspective, I'd be happy to help.